Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you that you are present here, and also thank you to the organizers. I'm very glad to be here and to share our experiences, and to connect. Okay, so I will talk about microplastics in the soil. I will say something about the sources and how they are the microplastics with the microorganisms, with the soil invertebrates, and how finally they go to the crops indeed. So some of the sources are the sludge. We heard in the previous slide that if the water treatment can have microplastics, that microplastics can go in the water, but also in the soil if the sludge is used as fertilizer. What you see in the screen is the study done by Corradini et al. 2019. And then they saw that there is a correlation between the amount of applications of a sludge and the concentration of microplastics in the soil. So how more the sludge is applied, how more microplastics are found in the soil. About compost, also compost are sources of microplastics if microplastics are in the compost. So this is a study done by Van Horstel in 2021, and they found microplastics in the soil in those places where compost were applied, in Spain and also in the Netherlands. And if plastic mulch, you know, the plastic mulch are used in agriculture for growing different kinds of plants. So the problem is when this plastic mulch is not collected, but is left there, and then it's fragmented by the UV light, by the wind, it starts to fragment, and then microplastics are produced. So they go in the soil and they remain there. So the concentrations of microplastics are higher in those places under plastic mulch compared to those places with compost. And the size of the microplastics are between 50 and 150 micrometers. We have heard today in the studies of Hannah that 50 micrometers of plastics can be found in the placenta. So this is important to have in mind. And also we have heard in the study of our colleague from the University of Utrecht that the animals, the farm animals, can have also plastics of 50 micrometers in their body. So we have them in the soil. Okay, another source of microplastics are when there is a mismanagement of the wastes. We know that from the wastes, 20% are plastics, at least. So if they burn those wastes, this is a practice that was done here in Europe a long time ago, but in South Europe, some is still, and in Latin America also it is done. It's not because they want to do it, but the system of recollection of the garbage is not very efficient, so they burn it. Well, if that happened, we did a study in Mexico, in home gardens, and we found microplastics spread in the soil, in the earthworms, inside the earthworms, in the cast of the earthworms. The cast of the earthworms are the feces. We found also if there are vertebrates like chicken in the home gardens, also they can be infested with microplastics. So we found microplastics in the crop of the chicken and in the gizzard. So as you know, these parts of the chicken are also eaten by ourselves, no? Okay, also of course different parts of the chicken. Okay, now I'm going to focus more in the soil system, in the ecosystem. So if there are microplastics in the soil, different compartments in the soil are affected. This is a drawing, diagram done by Rillich et al. 2020. So when there are microplastics, the organic matter decomposition in the soil is affected. We find aggregates with microplastics. So the aggregates have plastic fibers inside of different kinds of plastics. Then the bulk density is affected. The water flow in the soil is affected. And then, all the system affects, and of course that produces consequences on the plant. And the species of plants also, they need to adapt to the situation, so that they also are affected. So the whole ecosystem in the soil is disturbed, and of course also the organisms that live there. Okay, diving more in the plant system, soil plant system. The photosynthesis of the plants are affected if microplastics are in the soil. Here, in a study done by Key et al. 2020, she worked with in collaboration with another, with NEO also, that with different kind of plastics, bioplastics and low density polyethylene, and with wheat. And what you see on the screen are the roots of the plants. So near the roots of the plants, in the rhizosphere, there are different bacteria, microorganisms. Well, those bacteria and microorganisms are affected if plastics are present in the soil. The diversity of these microorganisms will change. So it changes if microplastics are present. And doesn't matter if it's bioplastic, I need to say that. Okay. So now this is a work done by Li et al. 2020. They work with nanoplastics and with different concentrations, and the nanoplastics with the higher concentrations are found in the root. So what you see there on the slide, in the bottom, the red thing is microplastic, fluorescent microplastic, and they are accumulated in the roots. So it's true. We find it in the plants. And because of the time, I cannot talk a lot of different experiences, but a colleague in Italy, they found plastic particles, microplastics in the apple and also in the carrot with a size of 1 micrometer and 2 micrometers respectively. So yes, we have them in the fruit. Okay, now talking on the effect or the impact of microplastics on soil invertebrates. As you know, the earthworms are indicators of soil quality. So if there are microplastics, the earthworms ingest the plastic particles, they transport the plastic particles in their body and until they die. No, they decrease their weight and then they die, according to the concentrations. But then, in the meantime, they transport this plastic also to the deep layers because there are different species of earthworms, but those that make tunnels to the deep layers, they transport the plastic there. So the plastic, when it's in the soil, is not static. That moves by biotic factors, soil invertebrates, or abiotic factors, for instance, water. We still need to know more about that. But if the plastic is in the poof of the earthworms, as you can see on the slide, on the right side of the slide, you see this like a big bubble with plastic. Those are plastics. So what we found in experiments done in Wageningen University is that the size of the plastic of the microplastics were smaller in the cast than in the bulk soil, and we were wondering why. So then we opened the worms, and we isolate the microorganisms that live in the worms, and we did experiments, and we saw that those bacteria can degrade the plastics. So very, very interesting. We found also nanoplastics. So if there are plastics in the food chain, there is an affectation in the individual and community level. If there are earthworms, they eat the plastic, they transport it, the microorganisms that are in the earthworms are affected. In the poop of the earthworms, there is more plastic, and then another invertebrates can transport the plastic, the plants can accumulate nanoplastics, and if there are vertebrates, they are also infested. Okay, this is a study done by Beirut et al. 2021, and it is in Spain, and plastic mulch, if it's not collected, as I mentioned previously, then we have microplastics. But the thing here is that the sheep are there, and then where they are grazing, yes, they can also ingest microplastics, and they can transport the microplastics in their body and to another places. So the thing is that you have an area, and then it's not only in that area that's polluted, but it's also polluting in another. It's spread more. So we need to understand more. I also need to say that also here in the Netherlands, with a project funded by Plastic Zoo Foundation, we have also done studies in soils, agricultural soils, on their plastic mulch, on the compost, and control. And we have found more plastics, microplastics, on the plastic mulch. Of course, we need more to understand that and to see how from the agricultural side is spread to the water of the soil and also to the air. Well, here, as it is mentioned previously, we need to work together. It's the only way to have solutions. This is the Minagris project. It's an European project where scientists and different stakeholders, we are trying to do something. So if you are interested, you can also be part of as a stakeholder, no? So you can dive, there is the link there. So as I mentioned, it's a teamwork. And then, thank you very much.